the Everything But Politics podcast.
All right, bear down, cuz NFL season is back. It is officially the first week of the NFL season. Mike, how are we feeling about that? You got to be fired up.
To be honest with you, I have more anxiety about it than anything else because football, I mean, it's become like such a gigantic thing for me with everything I got going on that I have to be honest, it's like actually like I'm like majorly concerned for my own health and safety this year. It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure. I'm excited obviously for football in general. It's just that there's so much that comes with it now for me. It's so much like on a daily basis now, having to do things and worry about things and making sure that everything is lined up for the weekend and making sure, I have picks out in time for college, picks out in time for pro, picks out in time for Thursday night football, Monday night football. And then on top of all that, all the other things I have going on the side, on top of that, the regular job, on top of that, the kids. So, I mean, football season like used to be this thing where it was like, I just had to worry about like a couple fantasy leagues, which now I only do 2. I'm only in 2. And one of them, I'm a co-owner. So I really kind of let my buddy handle a lot of it. And then the other one is just for the podcast, Brilliantly Dumb Show. So it's like now it's just so much stuff. It's kind of like I'm pumped, but at the same time, man, it's like it's a long haul, and it's like it's a lot. But
there's responsibility is a heavy responsibility.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Mikey, take us back to the beginning. Where did the creation of BearDownCuz come from?
Obviously, like yourself, Evan, yep. I'm a Bears fan. Born, raised a Bears fan, but I'm from New Jersey. No ties to Chicago whatsoever. My father grew up a Bears fan because he was a big Butkus, Sayers, Ditka guy.
Classic.
Grew up with that. So, he kind of just bestowed this curse, I want to say, on me more or less, because I was born like a couple weeks after they won their one and only Super Bowl. And ever since I was born, they haven't won anything. So I feel like maybe I'm responsible at this point for the failures and the letdowns of that organization. It's been a weird ride with the Bears, but the page itself, BearDownCuz, I mean, really, I'd say about 10 years ago, I just started like posting, again, this was before any of the podcasting, any of the stuff that I'm doing now that you see on Instagram. I was just really just a fan, and I just started posting like pictures, videos, things like that of the Bears. Never showed my face, never said what my name was, anything like that. I just would post. And the page was doing well. I mean, the page did well. I grew, 10,000 followers and 20,000. And then I started doing a little bit more like, I want to say, meme kind of, content and, a little more edgy stuff to kind of put myself out there a little bit more. And then I just on a whim reached out to Alex Brown, former Bear, former Florida Gator. I reached out to him and was like, would you want to do, an interview? And he said yes. And that was honestly the first time I had ever done anything on the internet, microphone, camera. And that was only an audio recording. I don't even think we did camera the first one. I think it was just a phone call that I recorded and then posted clips of the phone call. So that's really the genesis of that. And then what you see today is just kind of a mishmash of just my journey through life. Getting married, having kids, meeting obviously Bob, which opened up a whole nother door of opportunity for me in the social media space in terms of podcasting and sponsorships and, having an actual like side career in doing what I do now with those guys. And it just kind of all fell together. I would say it kind of turned from just a Bears page of just pictures and videos to all the stuff you see now around like COVID, around like 2020, right around then was when I first started really like doing actual content as opposed to just pictures and videos. So that's kind of the genesis of how it began and where it is now.
Well, like the evolution really began in 2020 then. And when was the page, like when was it created? What year was the first year?
Say again, I'm sorry.
What was the first year of the show in BearDownCuz?
The show in terms of...
What was the first year of BearDownCuz?
I want to say, I mean, Bear Down was originally just _ Bear Down _, and that was 2015. BearDownCuz, I want to say 2019-ish, right
Okay.
around then, 2019. Again, I think right around the time I met and started talking to Alex. Because once I started talking to Alex and got the weekly show I was doing with him, so I would run an Instagram live with him every Tuesday after Bears games. So every Tuesday during football season, we would run an Instagram live, and it was called Bear Down with Alex Brown on Instagram Live. And that kind of opened up more doors to me because it started giving me a little credibility. So
Yeah.
other players I would ask and got on with Spice Adams, got on with Urlacher, who's become, a personal friend now, which is bizarre, but that's another story. Urlacher, Spice Adams, Mojo Brooks, who's a big time comedian now. He exploded onto the scene, a big Bears fan, people that don't know that. Charles Tillman, Olin Kreutz, Adam Rank. I've been on his show several times now. So it's like, just that's kind of like, it took the turn around there, I would say, like 2019, right when I started doing stuff with Alex.
On the hunt for legendary wings, Buffalo's in Bloomington, Indiana, and Carmel, Indiana has you covered. Crowned top 10 wings in the nation by USA Today, our wings are a fan favorite. Dip into Mrs. Louie's famous sweet Q sauce for that sweet and tangy kick. Visit Buffalo's and wing it like a pro.
Well, you know what's interesting, and I'm happy you brought up the Urlacher thing. When did you go from the point that, you kind of like a big fan, like it's so cool, to like, oh fuck, like kind of have the epiphany, these guys are just guys, and then, that kind of realization that outside of them just being like people you looked up to as football players, but they're really just dudes.
Yeah, with him right away. I mean, Brian kind of just wears his opinions. I mean, everyone knows this. I think that follows anything that Brian does. Brian is not afraid to speak his mind and say
Correct.
exactly what he feels, whether you agree with it or not. If you don't agree with it, fine. If you agree with it, fine. But you should have the emotional intelligence to differentiate between, what a person's opinion is and being able to accept their opinion and just move on as long as they're a good person to you. I care about how people are toward me. I don't care about people's opinions if I judge a person on how they treat me. And Brian was an extremely accommodating person right off the jump. He was very friendly right off the jump. There was no pomposity to him whatsoever. There was no egomania with him whatsoever. He's the most competitive person I've ever met. Like, he breaks balls about, I mean, you can't tell this guy that you could beat him in a game of cards. He'll tell you that there's no possible. He is the most competitive human being that I've ever spoken to in my life. I'll take that to the grave. I've never met anybody that competitive, but honestly, the same thing with Alex. Like, these are just good people. Like, most of them are really good people. In this space, I've probably run into, the athletes are better people than the people on the influencer side. I could tell you that without question, without a doubt, because these athletes are thrust into the spotlight because of their ability. Influencers thrust themselves into the spotlight because they want the spotlight. I don't care what any influencer tells you. I don't care what anybody who does this tells you. Now, again, this is not my full-time job. This is my side. So I'm telling you how it is. Every influencer that does this job wants attention. Everyone wants attention. They want to be the center of attention. They want the spotlight. Anyone who tells you different, who's still running a page that maybe they did just post a viral video and they all of a sudden blew up. But if they're continuing to do it and they're continuing to do it for a monetary gain, they're doing it because they want the attention and they're thrusting themselves in the spotlight. Now, there's some really good people out there. The guys I'm with, great people.
Yep.
But I have met far more bad people on the influencer side than I have on the pro athlete. The pro athletes are just fucking dudes. They're just guys who, yes, there definitely are pro athletes who are dickheads. No question about it. But I'm telling you, the percentage is far lower on the pro athlete side of dickheads than it is on the influencer side. Far lower. So most of them just want to shoot the shit. They're normal people. And half the time you get them in front of a microphone, they really don't, in like a podcast setting or something, unless they're used to it and they know what they're doing. Some of them, they're terrible interviews because they don't even really, know where to bring the conversation because they're so humble. They really don't want to get into too much. So, I think the athletes are much, much less, of a problem sometimes than the influencer side is.
Well, and Mikey, like you said, you're blessed to work with great guys. How did you get on the Brilliantly Dumb pod and be able to work with such great guys?
somebody, I forget who it was, told me about Bob was running at the time during peak COVID. He was running this Patreon happy hour, a virtual happy hour during COVID when no one could go out. Everybody was on lockdown. And it was like on Thursday nights every week. And he would just fucking have people pay to subscribe to his Patreon and come into this, Zoom call with 50 guys or 40 guys. On a good night, we would have 40, 50 guys. And it would just be him hosting it and literally just everybody just getting silly, just, guys drinking, doing whatever. And it would just be like a pass the mic, kind of like an open mic night, not of comedy really, but just to let guys talk. And I went on there at the request of a friend. They're like, yeah, I think you would really like this. Like you would think this is funny. I went on, I thought it was hysterical. The first night I ended up talking to, I don't know, one of the guys from Entourage was on there. So I was talking to him, which was bizarre. I was like, this is so weird. I was like, what is this? And then I went the following week, and then I noticed every week, like Bob would kind of give the mic more to a certain group of guys. Like I started to notice like a guy like Matty Rigatoni would get the microphone very often. A guy like Jersey Jerry would get the mic very often. A guy like Joey would get the mic often. Perez which is where Perez met him, would get the mic often. And I was getting the mic often. So it was like he kind of like, yes, he would give everyone an opportunity, but he kind of leaned on certain guys to drive the conversation when the conversation was going stale. Which is one of Bob's strongest points. Like Bob is very good at keeping things moving along, and he doesn't mind leaning on other people's strengths in order to do that. He's very smart like that. So yeah, basically after one of the happy hours, I forget which one it was, but this was a while into it now, maybe a month or so into it. He came to me, and this was just when Jersey Jerry had left the show to go to Barstool. And Jersey Jerry was kind of his sports guy. That was his sports picks guy. It was his sports guy in general. And Bob came to me. He's like, look, I got this new deal with this company, up and coming company at the time called Prize Picks, which I'm sure now you know about. Prize Picks. They're fucking massive now. They blew up. Another thing, Bob fucking knows how to pick them, man. Prize Picks, he's like, I'm doing this thing with Prize Picks, and Jerry left a Brilliantly Dumb show, and I'd like to do like a 10 to 15 minute segment every week. I'll pay you, X amount of dollars, which was nothing at the time. He was like, but 10, 15 minutes a week just to do picks, just to give me a couple picks for Prize Picks, to do a Prize Picks segment. We started doing that. And then it only took like an episode, and he's like, let's just run the full episodes together. And we did that. And then Joe, who Bob obviously was best friends with already, was getting involved with, like, Joe wanted to make picks, and I would break Joe's chops and say, you really don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't make picks, which is bullshit. Joe knows what he's doing, but I love putting the heat on Joe. So then that's how Joe got integrated into it. So that's kind of that. And then from there, it's just, this was before Bob Does Sports, and then Bob Does Sports happened, and then Breezy happened, and then the Have a Day stuff happened. And nice. now we're just sitting here and we're like, what the fuck is going on? Now it's like, it's very, very, very surreal at times. Very surreal.
Totally. And you mentioned that 2020 time, and man, here we are 5 years later. It's crazy how much that sports betting world has expanded since then.
Yeah, sports betting. Look, I grew up around sports betting. I'm from New Jersey. I'm from the metropolitan area. I'm Italian American. I grew up around old Italian men my whole life. Like, look, sports betting was something that you didn't have a discussion at the dinner table on Sunday without somebody, asking what the line was in a game or what the over-under was in a game. The difference is now is that the government, which the government does very well, is they leveraged it to their advantage and to be able to tax it and make it a legal stream of revenue, which honestly I think is the best. That's the best thing you could have ever done, was to legalize it, because again, people are going to do it anyway, and people were doing it anyway. And now if it's going to, be advantageous to generate more money for the states, the sad thing is that, again, like anything, addiction is no joke. And if you do have, some type of inclination, or you have a propensity for addiction, you really, really have to just be careful, because I've seen guys I know so many guys I grew up with, went to high school with, currently know that have gotten their souls ripped out and their lives ruined by gambling. And, people always ask me, well, what's my moral stance on? My moral stance on it is that, I'm the type of person that, I wasn't the most disciplined person growing up as a kid. I had to acquire that discipline. I blew a lot of my money early on in my life doing things I shouldn't have done. So I think every man is responsible for their own actions and themselves. I understand what addiction is. Believe me, I know what addiction is. I grew up in a family with addicts of different substances. Like that's not but at the end of the day, I really do believe that a man controls his own destiny to a certain degree. Yes, there are things that happen along the lines, but you have to be in control of your own destiny and disciplined enough to be able to say when to stop. So when people ask me what's my, moral stance on it or what do I think of that, I always say that, you have to bet responsibly and betting should be fun. Betting is supposed to be fun. That is why, my service that I offer, the only sub-service, Brotherhood, is less than $5 a month. I try to give guys things other than gambling picks, workouts, wellness stuff, motivational stuff, conversations, group chats, free roll, bracket challenges, meetups, events. We've done all that. And I do that for a reason because it shouldn't just be about guys wanting to bet the entire board all day long. But what I tell them all the time is, you cannot bet every bet you place, you should expect to lose it. If you have that mentality where, you're placing a $20 bet and you're like, I can kiss this $20 goodbye, no problem. It doesn't matter. Like if I lose this $20, I don't care. That's the attitude you have to have because in gambling, no matter how good you are, you could be the best. Nobody's ever, and if they tell you nobody's ever going to hit 70, 75, 80%, it doesn't happen. And for the people that claim that they do, they're full of shit because they would never have to charge people money and a lot of money. I'm not talking about $5 a month. I'm talking about guys that charge $100 a month, $1,000 a month, $5,000 for a full season package. Those things exist. Those things exist out there. And those people really I look at that and that to me is like that I could never deal with the pressure of that. At the end of the day, there's a ton of pressure on me doing what I do, but I always do reel it back and say, you're charging people $4.99. They have the ability to just cut it off whenever they want. I'm not taking these people for $100 deposit. I'm not taking them to say it's $100 to sign up initially and then it's only $3 a month. I'm not doing that to people. And I would never do that to people because I could never live with the guilt. Because once again, I told you I'm Italian. I grew up, in an Italian household and Italians are the best at guilting. So, when you talk about guilt, we know all about that. So yeah, sports gambling is it's driving everything, right? It's driving literally every major sport now. It's everywhere. It's in the UFC. They have the live odds on the fight in the little, in the what do they call that? What do they call that box?
The octagon?
No, the little score ticker, whatever they call that. The score bug. The score bug.
Yeah,
They have the live odds on the score bugs now in UFC. They have it in football. It's like I never thought I would see this where they would openly be talking about it. It's bizarre, but it is the very it's woven now into the very fabric of all American sports. It just is what it is.
Well, big respect towards your approach to it, not getting crazy with your community, but that I'm fascinated by building a community. Obviously, you've been doing this a bit longer than we have, where by the time this comes out, it'll be our 3-year anniversary to date, September 1st.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
man.
good, man.
Thank you. But with that said, tell us about building your own community, what goes into it, and then what you've learned about building community through being a part of Brilliantly Dumb.
Yeah, the Brilliantly Dumb side of it, we're just consistent right now. We've been rock solid in terms of consistency. I remember there was a point maybe in the first year or two, man, where it was like if we got 10,000 views on YouTube, that was something that we really stopped and we were like, whoa. That's a big deal. Now it's we want it, every episode we put out now, we want it to be a top 3 episode of the last 10 that we put out. YouTube has that thing where it ranks up from your last 10, it'll rank where it lands. If we don't put out an episode that lands in the top 3 every single week, we get upset. Bob gets pissed. And people don't see that side of it. And we get pissed in general. The consistency is the biggest thing. Anybody out there is thinking about starting something like this? Listen, I say it all the time, man. Last thing the world needs is another podcast. That's that's the reality of the situation, because people always ask me, well, are you going to do more pods? I'm like, no, probably not. Maybe one. I have a certain thing in mind for a certain time in my life when I want to do that. And it's not right this second. In terms of growing that community, it's the consistency. Because like I said, in the first year or so, there was a time where we would miss an episode every once in a while. We miss an episode. They'll understand. We'll do it. We are so locked in with we will not miss an episode no matter what. And man, is it tough, because between their travel schedule, between my kids' obligations and my work obligations, their work obligations. Now Joe's got the kid, Bob's building out a fucking content studio. Like, it's not easy to find the time, but man, the consistency, the same day every week, no matter what it looks like, if you really want it to work, you have to stick to a schedule. You have to stick to consistency. But, I like to look at everyday life like that. Like, if I don't stick to my schedule personally, like my consistency, discipline, consistency, routine, I am one of the worst people on the planet. I have to be in routine. My wife will tell me if I miss the gym for like 3 days in a row, which, knock on wood, hasn't happened in a long time, unless it's like we're away on vacation or something and I'm doing something else that's active. She'll notice a change in my personality. She'll be like, just get out of here and go to the gym. She'll tell me, like, because my routine is so essential to not the physical wellness aspect of it is just the cherry on top. That's the bonus. It's the mental clarity, the ability to lock in and be able to, function at your absolute best. So with Brilliantly Dumb, I don't know where the light switch flipped in the middle of the last 2 years, I would say, but it flipped and we were like, we're just so locked in right now with consistency and scheduling. And I think that's made the world a difference. Sure, we've had, some programming changes with how we're doing certain things of the format of the episodes. But honestly, guys, I mean, the preparation for it is minimal. I mean, we talk about the top 5 a little bit before the episodes. We review the ad reads a little bit before the episodes. But other than that, I mean, we kind of go off the cuff mostly. And I think that's what people like. Like, a lot of the stuff you see in the comments of the Brilliantly Dumb show, like, they're like, I can't believe this bit. I can't believe it. I can assure you that nothing on that show, including the Ask Bob segment, I will swear on my children, is not a bit. Nothing on that show is a rehearsed bit. Except obviously we know what the top 5 topic is going to be. That's about it in terms of the structure and what we know is going to happen. So yeah, in terms of Brilliantly Dumb, that's been the key for us. And then for me personally, with what I have, the community I built, the Only Subs community. I mean, look, number one, when it comes to that, the difference between the Brilliantly Dumb show and what I do, the Only Subs, is people have to pay to do mine. Brilliantly Dumb show, you just click subscribe and listen. It's free. Mine is different. So mine, I'm going to have to say, if you're looking to sell something, which is what I'm doing, I'm selling a service. Number one, you got to know what you're talking about, and you got to be decent at it. You can't be, and look, again, I started Only Subs in the fall of 2022. That was the first season that we started off, was football season 2022, when Instagram subscriptions first came out. And when it came out, that was it for me, because I had the idea in my head. I was like, I think I'm decent handicapper. I think I'm good. I think I'm decent. I was like, I know I could sell picks. I said, because I think I have a strong enough following. I have people who would follow me, and I'm not going to charge a heavy price whatsoever. I started off charging only $3 a month, and I upped it to $5 like 2 years ago. That was it. And I haven't upped it since. And my original idea was, I'll sell cameos, and because there was no IG subscription at the time, and I wasn't involved with Patreon. I really didn't know how Patreon worked that well at the time. So I didn't think Patreon could work, because I thought it would be too easy for people to like reshare stuff. And I just didn't think it would work. So when Instagram subscriptions came out, I was like, okay, this is it. This is the chance. I got to do it. And I mean, I guess I got lucky in a sense that my first football season was extremely strong. And then I backed it up the following season with an even better season, where I was like 47 games over 500 in the NFL, the second season I ran it. So, I got instant credibility. So I knew what I was doing. I had confidence in what I was doing, and I got lucky, because everything that I was putting out, for the most part, I had a very, very good year. If I had done it the first year and, I had a shit year where I'm hitting 50% or less, it might not have taken off the way it did. And now it's like, I have such a solid group of guys, man. That's the second thing I would say. The first thing is knowing what you're doing. If it's a service that you're going to sell. The second thing is have a base built already of people that fucking love you, that fucking really love you. And I have this group of guys I call the OGs, the only sub OGs. These guys have been with me since day one. They have supported everything I've done since even before the subscription services. And these are all real guys. These are not like these like troll guys. These are guys with families. These are older guys whose kids are grown up. It's a wide range, people who just got married, younger people who just got married, even to college kids. But they're real guys and they're real supporters. And man, with them having a group like that to back you in the dark times, because listen, in this business, the dark times could get fucking dark, man. I could lose 10 games in a row. It's happened before. And when that happens, bro, I'm in a bad place. And to have a group like that that's in that community and they're telling people, back off, or, you got to understand what he's doing, to not have to have others go to battle for you without asking. That's a key to leadership. Number one is to have people follow you because they want to follow you, not because they have to. Right. So when you have guys like that, that's a major, major key. Having that core group of people that are already in your corner. So you guys got to build that loyal. Who's your loyal? Identify that loyal fucking backyard, junkyard dog fan base that you guys have, and fucking let them know how much you appreciate them, because those are the people that are going to drive you, that are going to comment on everything. You could always count on them commenting on everything, liking everything, sharing everything. I got guys, they fucking yell at me if I don't tag them and shit on my stories because they want to reshare it. And I'm like, bro, I don't need you to reshare it. It's fine. It's not a big deal to me. Again, like, I don't make my entire living off this. So to me, I have a semi-lackadaisical attitude about that. But those are the type of guys you want, dogs in your corner. That's if you're selling something. Podcast a little different. Because again, like I'm saying, Brilliant Dumb Show, we're selling ourselves, but again, it's a free market. So it's like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That you got to be consistent. That's the biggest thing with the podcasting, is consistency with a service, is knowledge of what you're doing, and a core group of consumers that are going to have your back through thick and thin, no matter what.
Awesome. Rock on. That's a great response. In being in such a industry where dark times do occur, do you have someone that you admire or lean on for advice, that's been through it, that's been doing it maybe a couple years longer than you have?
Not in the handicapping arena too much. But I won't talk to handicappers, but I'll talk to gamblers. Like, I'll talk to real gamblers, like guys I know that have gambled for years and years, not necessarily. So when you say my business, like I'm thinking about guys who sell picks. No, I don't talk to guys like that too much. I talk to the guys who I know are career, lifelong gamblers, and they're always the ones that talk you off the ledge, because they know. Anybody who's been sports betting before DraftKings, before FanDuel, before all the fancy apps, when you had to go to the bar and get the daily sheet and check the boxes off, those are the guys that'll always be like, listen, like, what is it, your first time? Gambling that's why it's gambling. That's why it's gambling, because there's always going to be losers. There's always going to be losers. And sometimes it gets frustrating, because, you think that you're able to do things, and you think you go on these streaks and you go on these runs where even if you lose a game here or there, you're still fucking smashing it for the most part. But the reality is it's never going to always be winners. It's just never, not realistic. So I just, you have to remind yourself of that. So to answer your question, I'll speak to people I know that have been in the gambling space for a long time.
Copy. Got it.
Apollo Celine's got your summer playlist covered. Check out their new bangers, Out Till Morning and Search for the Light, available on all streaming platforms. Released June 20th, 2025, these tracks are pure energy. Perfect for late night drives or beachside vibes. Don't miss the songs defining summer 2025.
So, Mike, speaking of runs, Chicago Bears, new coach, Caleb Williams, second year. What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to allow myself to get like emotionally. The team, listen, man, the team, how old are you, Evan, if you don't mind?
24.
Yeah, so I almost double you up. Not quite,
Yeah.
not quite, but I almost double you up. So I mean, look, bro, this team has put me through the ringer emotionally for so many years, and every time I think it's going to get better, maybe I'll see a flash here or there. You'll have an outlier season like your 2018s, your 2000.
Yeah, that's kind of the only winning year I remember.
Yeah, your 2018s, your 2010s, like you'll have an outlier season like that. But for the most part, it's just organizational dysfunction with them.
Totally.
The ownership is really like, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the way they handle business. Ryan Pauls, I was a big advocate for him in the beginning. The more things pass, like, listen, I will say this. The one thing that I think they absolutely drilled, and I could be dead wrong about it, I do think Ben Johnson is going to be great. I think
agree
he
with
is.
you.
I think he's going to be a great head coach. The thing is that I don't know. I know what Caleb's capable of. I just don't know how fast he's going to get there and how long they're going to allow him to try to get there. Holds on to the ball a long time, takes some unnecessary sacks. We've seen that. And the problem with that is that's given a lot of Bears fans PTSD, because the last quarterback here that was a highly touted quarterback that they had in Justin Fields, it was a bugaboo of his as well, was holding the ball too long, taking bad sacks. Caleb protects the football a little bit better, I think, than Fields did. Caleb's a better passer than Fields is by a country mile, and I'm a Justin Fields diehard guy since his days at Georgia,
Buckeyes.
when he transferred from Georgia to Ohio State. But for this season, division is so hard, man. The division is so brutal. And, there's so many new variables. You have a whole new offensive line from guard to guard. You have a brand new head coach. You got a whole new coaching staff. It's Caleb's second year. Last year was probably more of a detriment to him than a positive in terms of learning, because of having to go through two coordinators and two head coaches. So, yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like, really, Evan. Like, I'd love to tell you, like, it's going to look like the preseason game against the Bills. But the bottom line is, I saw a Bears team last year in the preseason go 4-0 and Caleb light teams up. But again, like you saw I think, what you saw against the Chiefs could be more around when they play good teams, ones against ones. It was ugly. Like, it was ugly. That Chiefs first couple sequences against their ones was ugly. Defensively and offensively was just ugly. Now, the Chiefs are a juggernaut and the Chiefs are a Super Bowl favorite. So, I mean, okay, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. But, I don't know what it's going to look like against the really good teams in the league. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm excited for it, in that I want to see the new coach and how that works out in the new offensive line. But I won't get my hopes up, I'll tell you that, because I've been burnt way too many times by this team.
Well, Mike, so I've been forever, the Bears have been like the one team that I've admired the most. And like you said, it's constant heartbreak, disappointment. I am sad to say, at this point in my life, I love the Bears the least I ever have. Like you said, the ownership is completely.
They'll do that to you. They'll do that. I mean, they'll just do that to you. Like, people bitch at me too, man. They're like, well, where's all the Bears coverage? I'm like, bro, I'm fucking tired. I'm too old and I'm too tired now to chase around who's getting cut before the 53-man rosters put out. Like, I just, it doesn't do anything for me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, here's another thing. Like, when I covered the Bears, and like, when I say covered, I mean, like, when I was putting out constant news information about the Bears, I did it very quickly. I would try and get news out before, anybody aside from like a beat reporter that I heard it from got it. And like, it was rewarding in a sense that like I was growing the page, but there's no respect for anybody that's outside of the media room that's doing things like that from the organization itself. So I just got tired of doing it. Like, I'll put up clips, I'll put up stuff, like, no question about it. Like, when the season starts, like if Caleb has a big game or they win like a crazy game or there's a crazy bad highlight, or I'll rant like about how miserable a game was. Like, I'll always do like halftime live rants. People love that. But like, in terms of like covering them and like really being emotionally invested, I need to see them perform and win before I could ever conceive getting back to the level of involvement and desired involvement with covering them like that again, where I'm like really like monitoring everything. I'm cognizant of everything going on. I know every position, who's playing every position, but I just like don't have like the love has faded. Like I like them. I got Bears shit everywhere. I root for them vehemently, but in terms of like passion, like how hard I'm going to root for them, it usually only takes a month before I could see that it's not going to work. So it's like, we'll see how long it lasts this season. Hopefully a little bit longer.
Like realistically, I think they always play well against Minnesota. So that Monday night game, I think they'll win that game, and then from there, I don't know what's after that, but like realistically, 7-10, 8-9 is what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Again, the division's very tough. Schedule's tough. Schedule is no joke at all. It's not an easy schedule this year. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be there. I want Bears fans to understand that there's going to be growing pains with this offense still, because I think people are envisioning a Lions offense this year. I think they're envisioning Ben Johnson to come here and all of a sudden this offense is going to put up 40 a game every game. They're going to light people up. And while they have the guys to do it, I mean, look, top to bottom, DJ Moore, Luther Bird, and Rome Odunze is a hell of a trio. Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland is a hell of a double tight. DeAndre Swift, I don't care what, I know some people don't like him. I think in the open field, I think DeAndre Swift is one of the shiftier guys still in the league. I like DeAndre Swift. I like the kid Monangai that they got from Rutgers in the 7th round. I thought it was a steal. He was one of the most underrated backs in the Big Ten. He would run against NFL-type defenses, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and he would rack up numbers against defenses like that. They have the talent. They have a Hall of Fame left guard. They had the best free agent center in football that they just signed. They had a Pro Bowl right guard when he played under Ben Johnson in Detroit and Jonah Jackson. Darnell Wright is a top 10 pick at right tackle. They have the pieces, but I want people to understand that there is still going to be growing pains with this quarterback. Still has things that he has to fix, and it's still the first year in the system for him with this coach. So I'm imagining a year where they're going to try and dummy down things as much as they can for him to make sure he's as comfortable as he possibly could be. And then when the time comes, they'll ramp it up and they'll try to push him, because at the end of the day, the NFL is not about, coming here to learn. The NFL is about coming here to win. And when you don't win, the time span for patience has never been shorter for head coaches and quarterbacks in this league, ever. I mean, you got guys getting fired after a year, or in their first year. I mean, it just happens. Like it's just such an overwhelming demand to win now, and there's very little time granted to these guys.
Mikey, you talk about the Bears having all this potential. In a couple years, could they win a Super Bowl? Like you talk about, they got all the key factors, great coach. This is the year 2 for Caleb Williams. How many years do you give them before we got to cut it short and get rid of these guys?
3.
And does this count as year 2 then?
Yeah, I'm saying like that rookie 5th year option. Like when you come to that after so it would be his 4th year. So when I say 3 with Ben Johnson, 2, 3, 4. When it comes, like if you'll know by then, you will know by then. Yeah, you will know. I would say you'll have an idea by the end of this season who Caleb Williams is going to be. I think you'll have an idea, but you will know for certain at the end of next season who Caleb Williams is going to be.
Well, especially, I remember watching him at USC, and I was like, this guy is like Mahomes. Like I told
he has
Eric,
that ability. He has that ability to go off script and make Mahomes-like plays, make plays with his arm that no one else could make.
Totally.
Him, Josh Allen, and Mahomes, the only 3 guys who could make plays like that. Even Lamar has good arm talent, but even I put, like, it's just the way they could control their body and arm. I think there's only 2 other guys that can make throws like he can in those situations.
And I was optimistic with, you have Caleb Williams drafted to like an Andy Reid Chiefs team, that they make the playoffs in his first year. That I see, even though Ben Johnson, new staff and everything, I see a lot of potential with Caleb Williams where he could be the next star, given he has the right weapons and the right coaching staff.
Yeah, listen, I think he's a star right now. I think he's a star in the sense that he's got an incredible amount of potential, an incredibly high ceiling, and he's a star in the sense that he's just the most polarizing figure in the city of Chicago right now. I know people are talking about the Cubs a little bit and, what they're doing in some of the seasons that certain guys on the Cubs have had. But the bottom line is Caleb Williams, once football season starts, is the most polarizing athlete in the city of Chicago. And to be honest, he's one of the most polarizing players in the entire league, because he's different. He's different. You know, his off the field stuff is different. The way he carries himself is a little different. His talent's unquestioned. His pedigree from USC is unquestioned. He's the number 1 overall pick, and he's in an organization that has historically stunk at the position. They don't develop the position. They're terrible at the position historically. So he is a star in that sense. The thing with me is like, yeah, the potential's all there. It's all there. But again, I don't think you'll know the full picture of who he is for certain until the end of next season. This season is the first season, whether people want to accept it or not. It's the first season with all these new coaches and Johnson. And can Johnson get the best out of him? Yeah, I hope so. But next season, to me, by the end of next season, you will know if this guy is going to be a franchise quarterback or not. I don't think it's fair to do it this season. And people are going to disagree with that. They're going to say he's the number 1 overall pick, and you got the number 1 free agent coach that was available, the top guy on the market. All true. But still, It's the first year in the system. It's the first year with a new center. It's the first year with some of these guys. Like it's more than that. Like that's why, again, the patience level is so thin. And listen, nobody's got less patience with this fucking team than I do. I'm because listen, I'm just trying to see 1 Lombardi before I check out. Just 1. I'd like Dom to see 1. I'd like my son to see 1. At some point. So, Evan, could they win a Super Bowl? Yeah, of course they could win one.
Yeah.
Of course they could win one. They have the talent. I think the defense I don't think is going to be too good this year, but that's a whole nother subject. I think they'll be okay on the back end, but the front, I don't know. Pass rush, terrible. It could be terrible. But yes, they could win a Super Bowl. But again, I think people have to understand that there's going to be growing pains still this year with Caleb. People got to accept it.
Mikey, for you then, what does a season look like this year where you're satisfied?
Winning some divisional games, that's number 1 for sure. They finished about as good as you can, beating the Packers on the road. I don't care who played for the Packers. You know, I understand people, but still, anytime you could beat the Packers, when you're the Bears, you take that. I don't care who you're playing, you take it. So they ended it on a strong note. I'd like to see them beat all 3 divisional opponents at least once. I think that would be a start. If you could take 1 from the Lions, take 1 from Minnesota, take 1 from Green Bay, maybe you sweep one of those 3 teams, that would be even better. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat, man. You know, you got Vegas on the schedule. Beat a team like that. You know, beat some of these teams. You got the Commanders again this year. Like, go out in that Commanders game. Remember what happened last year and fucking play angry. Like, play pissed off football. Play like you really want to go out there and like take that game, because the last one was taken. See, that's what
if they win that game, they might probably make a playoff push last year. They would have been, 5-2, 6-2?
I was just about to say that. Like, I don't think people understood the position that they were in when they had played that game and what that would have meant had they finished that game out. Caleb didn't have a great game, but the bottom line is the defense held this Jaden Daniels, who he had a tremendous season last year. He was great. But the bottom line is Caleb Williams outplayed Jaden Daniels in that game when it mattered the most. In the 4th quarter, he scored the touchdown, not Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams led them down the field. They scored the touchdown. Now, obviously, everyone's going to say, well, Jaden Daniels made that. Yes, he made a play that involves just chucking the ball straight up into the air and hoping for the best, and the Bears fucking bungled it the best way they possibly could. If that play doesn't happen, man, I think the narrative may be a lot different last year. I really do. But then again, you know, what happens? Like, does the trajectory change to the point where you're still going to be stuck with a guy who, by my estimation, was the worst head coach in the history of the franchise? Because I think Eberflus was worse than Nagy. I think Eberflus was worse than Mark Trestman. I think he was worse than John Fox. He was the Dave Wannstedt. To me, he was the worst head football coach I have ever seen. He is a fraud. He absolutely had no idea what he was doing as an offensive manager. He was a defensive guy, and that's fine. Lovie Smith was a defensive guy too, but Lovie Smith was a hell of a head football coach. He could coach a football team. This guy was an absolute train wreck, for lack of a better. So like, would we still be stuck with him instead of Ben Johnson? Maybe it was a blessing that play happened. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what the season looks like had that play not happened, and what would have happened after that.
So funny. Well, what are some other storylines you're going to be following along with outside of the Bears?
Storylines.
teams, players.
Yeah, teams. I'm very interested to see what the Giants do this year. And I say the Giants because, I do listen to New York sports radio almost every morning, still being out here. I'm very curious to see what Justin Fields does on the Jets. I don't think it's going to work out because I watched Justin enough, and it's that thing, like, if it could have, it would have. I think he was given the opportunities in Chicago. He got an opportunity with Pittsburgh. I don't see how it's going to work, but I'm curious to watch it. The Giants, to me, are a fascinating team because you want to talk about a team that is loaded with talent. I mean, this team with Neighbors and now Abdul Carter, but forget about that, with Thibodeau and with Dexter Lawrence and with Brian Burns. I mean, this team is loaded with some really special talent. The issue with them is just going to be, what is Russell Wilson going to be capable of? What is the offensive line going to do? So that's one I'm looking at. I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how everything plays out in Cleveland. Now that Shador is officially the third string emergency quarterback after, he had that preseason game and everybody went nuts, and including myself, I thought he looked really good. Cam Ward in Tennessee, what that's going to look like. The Cincinnati Bengals, I think, is a fascinating one this year. All the money that they spent to retain their superstars. I still don't think they have enough defensively, but I'm curious to see Joe Burrow's response this year. And then finally, I think the revenge tour for the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs going to be playing? Is Mahomes going to be playing pissed off football, chip on his shoulder football this year after what happened in the Super Bowl? That's dangerous for other teams. And, again, two teams that I'm waiting for them to just break through the door, the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. I'm just waiting to see who's going to seize the moment. Which one of those two teams is finally going to say enough is enough and they're going to take the AFC? Somebody's got to step up and take the AFC besides the Kansas City Chiefs. But the problem this year is, again, I think if the Chiefs had won the Super Bowl last year, you might have a better chance of winning the AFC, because I think you're going to get a pissed off, motivated Chiefs team, and that is a very dangerous prospect.
I'm really high on the Chargers, and I think the Chargers win the West and are a top 3 seed out there. I think it's their time with Harbaugh and Herbert. Herbert's I think it's his 5th year.
Got to see Herbert beat a playoff team, man. Got to see Herbert win a game against a big team. Listen, he, again, another guy, all the talent in the world, undisputed, the talent the kid has, no doubt about it. Tough guy, too. I like him. He could move a little bit, which is a little deceptive. He could run a little. I got to see him do it, though. I got it, because, man, is he pissed down his leg against the good teams. He really has. And off the bat, they drew a short straw right off the bat. They lose Rashawn Slater for the year. That's a massive loss for them that can't be overlooked. I mean, you talking about the blind side for a quarterback. That is such a bigger deal than I think people realize. Like, that's a massive thing. And now, I like Dobbins over there, and now Dobbins is in Denver. I liked him. I know he's an Ohio State guy. People are going to say it, but he's a tough runner, man. He's just, listen, I like the Chargers on paper. I do. I like the Chargers on paper. I love the idea of Harbaugh and Herbert, but you get to a point, you got to see it, because everyone keeps talking about it. Every year it's the Herbert hype. And I get it. I get why completely, but I need to see it translate into wins over the playoff teams.
Yes, that's fair.
So who are your Super Bowl futures?
Oh, man. To be fair to people that are paying for them, I will say, I will say this. I like a lot of chalk this year. I like a lot of chalk. I'm a fan of the favorites this year. I don't have a team that I think is going to come out of nowhere and sneak up on people this year. I don't, especially, and I'll narrow it down a little bit more, especially out of the NFC. I really don't. I think your Super Bowl champion this year will come out of the AFC, and I think it will be one of those top teams.
Like the Indiana Hoosiers last year, is there a college football team that sneaks into the playoffs this year? Maybe Bill Belichick in North Carolina, or someone that is off everyone's radar?
I think there's going to be, I think the Oklahoma Sooners, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff. I think they're going to be much improved this year. I think the Sooners are going to be a lot better. People don't understand that the Oklahoma Sooners were playing with us 3 were the wide receivers for Oklahoma last year. That's how decimated they were at wide receiver. There's a couple. Illinois is going to be a tough team in the Big Ten this year. I think they're going to be a sneaky. I think Illinois or Nebraska could have the potential to be this year's iteration of Indiana. The problem is Indiana was everything fell so perfectly for them in terms of like not losing any games, their schedule. So, the Big Ten's getting tougher every year. But yeah, I guess an outlier team, I would, like it's tough to pick like an SMU or a Boise State or, something like that. But I guess I'd take a long shot on Illinois. I think Illinois is going to have a good team this year.
I went to Indiana and they play Illinois week 4 at Bloomington. So that will be the game to decide possibly which team makes the playoff.
Yeah, going to be a great game. And I was there's a bet out there for how many Big Ten teams over under are going to make the college football playoff. It's 3.5 is the line, and I think that's something people should take a look at.
Well, that's Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, and
Michigan.
then either.
Michigan will be back this year. Michigan's not going to go 8-5 this
QB.
year. With Bryce Underwood, I can't see a world where they go 8-5. So,
and Mike, last thing here. When this is released, your Texas Ohio State game will have happened. What do we expect out of that game, and what do we expect out of the Buckeyes this season?
That game in particular, I can't sit here and tell you I'm the most confident person in the world for that game. In fact, last year in the playoff, I had said that the game that concerned me the most when it was all said and done out of the 4, Notre Dame, Oregon, Tennessee, and Texas, it was Texas by far, because I thought on paper, in terms of NFL talent, the only team that matched up with Ohio State or came close, I should say, because last year's Ohio State team they were ungodly loaded everywhere. Texas, to me, was the closest. They had blue chip talent everywhere, and they still do. Defensive side of the ball, you got Colin Simmons. They have the number 1 linebacker that's going to go off the board in the draft. Arch Manning, you don't even need to talk about Arch Manning. We've heard enough about Arch Manning. My thing about this game Saturday, or this game that happened on Saturday, is what is Ohio State's quarterback going to do? And I'm a fan of Julian saying, I talked to Julian. I just was talking to him before this because we have something in the works for a response to Bob's bullshit with the Michigan shit. So stay tuned for that because that's coming. My concern is Julian, as good as he is, has not played in a real football game in 3 years. And when you're a quarterback and it's about rhythm and it's about familiarity, you could do all the spring games you want, all the live practices you want. But this guy went to Alabama 3 years ago to play for Nick Saban. True freshman, didn't play because he was a true freshman, obviously. Transferred to OSU as a redshirt freshman when Saban left. And last year had to sit behind Will Howard, who they brought in from the portal, and for good reason, because Howard went on a tear in the playoffs. So now you have a guy who hasn't played in a game in a long time. How quickly can he get acclimated? How quickly can Julian get in a rhythm on Saturday? Can he get in a rhythm? Is Texas going to allow him to get in a rhythm? Are they going to lean on the run a little bit more? Can Ohio State stop the run? Ohio State could do everything defensively. I'm not worried about them defensively, except is Ohio State have the depth in the interior to stop the run? I'm a little concerned about that. And then I'm concerned about the consistency of the quarterback play, only because I haven't seen him yet playing a game in 3 years. So it's not a concern about the person so much as it is about the experience and the rhythm aspect of being in a game for the first time live speed in a long time. And on the flip side, you have a defense in Texas that's going to be very unforgiving. And you have a quarterback at Texas who got a lot of experience last year and has the pedigree of the greatest bloodline, maybe they want to talk about quarterbacks in the history of the league. So it's going to be a fascinating game. OSU favored over the number 1 team by 2 points now. It was 1.5. Now I think it's back to 2. It might be back to 1. I don't know. But it's basically a pick 'em almost. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fight. Ohio State's fortunate to be home, because if this game was on the road, I think it would really be difficult for them, especially how loud it would be and them trying to communicate on offense. So it's going to be something. And then after this game, the outlook for them for the season, I expect them to have a great season. I mean, they don't play Oregon this year, so they dodged that bullet, which is nice. Everyone knows they got the game the end of the year. Everyone knows what's going to come with that. And the narratives about 4 years in a row losing to them and the way they lost last year as a 21-point favorite and all that. Penn State, they get at home this year, which is big. If they had to play this Penn State team, this particular Penn State team on the road, it's going to be a tough ask as is. I love Penn State this year, man. If James Franklin don't get it done this year, he'll never get it done, because when you bring back a guy like Drew Aller, who's the greatest quarterback recruit they've ever had, and you bring back that entire backfield with Singleton. I mean, this is the year for Penn State. If it was ever a year, this is it. So that game's going to be tough. But for OSU, I mean, I could see them losing 2 games, maybe this season, regular season, maybe 2, max 3. If they lose the third, they're probably out of the playoff, because we saw that last year with like a South Carolina who had a really good year. But, you lose 3 games, it's kind of hard. So I say 2 to 3 losses this year, maybe for them. Best case scenario, they lose 1 game, I think. It's going to be tough. I can't see them going undefeated. I just think it's so tough now in college to go on. These conferences are, especially even in the SEC now, adding Texas and Oklahoma into the mix. Like, it's just almost impossible to run the table, like, and go undefeated. So I think 1 loss would be the best case scenario for them.
Awesome. It should be a lot of fun to watch. Mike, it's clear why you've been successful at this the last couple of years. Appreciate you bringing the energy, brother. It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate it, man.
No problem, guys. Thank you so much.